Loneliness is very, very strange because it's deceptive. Sometimes you go through periods of loneliness where you're isolated, but you're isolated for a purpose. I was a person who always struggled with relationships because I found myself being a giver. And if you're a giver, the worst thing you can do is be with a taker. Sometimes you teach the best what you need to learn the most. So I've always tried to exhaust myself in trying to help others and pour out to others. I think about oftentimes when I was a kid, my mother would give me money to go on school trips. And all I would do was take the money and buy something for her or my sister. I didn't know how to receive. All I did was know how to give. And then there came a time in my life where I wanted to be in a relationship to find a woman who would also give me what I needed. And I realized you won't always find that. Sometimes people will not do things to sustain you. Sometimes they don't realize what you need. People sometimes are used to just taking from you because you're such a giver. I want to say to anybody who's in that position that you need to take time for yourself. Unless you take care of yourself and learn to make yourself happy and content with who you are and where you are, no one else will be able to lend to that. I waited too long to try to rely on other people to get that sustainable joy and contentment. It doesn't come from that. It has to be something internal that makes you happy. It's not about the things that you have. It's not about your degree or your pedigree or what you acquire or what you amass. Realistically, it's something in your soul, something in your heart that has to be fulfilled. That's why it's interesting that you can see people who are multimillionaires and they're depressed and they're lonely in a crowd. They have the biggest parties, they have the most resources, but then times you'll see somebody that may just be pushing a cart down the street with everything they own in it, and they seem like they have such a peace and a joy, because that joy is something that comes from the inside of them. It's not based on superficial outside factors. And for that, I realized something. Things can be purchased and they can be lost, but they don't make you who they are. No matter what, the gift is never as good as the gift giver. So for that, I say to anyone who is lonely, find that peace, because loneliness basically is a void. It's a lack. It's a longing for something to fulfill you in such a way where you won't be by yourself anymore. But you could be around hundreds of so-called friends and still feel lonely, because they're not going to be able to solve that for you. It's something else that you have to find, and that is something greater than the exterior that has to come from inside.